I'm ethnically Korean, but I've always been an American. Why? 35 years ago, my mom decided to move 6,000 miles from her hometown in Seoul to Los Angeles. 7 years later, she met my dad, and then they had my sister. 4 years later, it was my turn, and ever since, our family stayed in Southern California. My dad grew up in San Francisco, so most of his family is already here. However, my mom's family is still in Korea. We visited back in May 2023, and it was our first time seeing them in over 17 years. But because it has been a year and a half since we went, my mom wanted to visit her family again. So this was the second time my family and I went to Korea. Minus my sister, she couldn't come because of work. Starting off our 6,000 mile journey, we arrived at the airport after an hour and a half drive. We came early before our flight, so we waited in the terminal for 2 hours. By the time we got into the airplane, we were 5 hours into traveling. After flying for 11 hours, we made it to Incheon airport. We then took the bus to Jeonju, where my grandma lives. By the time we made it, 25 hours had passed since we left home. The next morning, we went to a coffee shop called Catimo Coffee. My mom wanted to go because they accepted the Pi coin cryptocurrency, and she's pretty big into that. We ended up buying around $100 worth of coffee for half off because we also paid 5 Pi coins. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I had no reference to what good coffee is supposed to taste like. The coffee they gave us just tasted like coffee, but the owners were hospitable. The next day, I went for my first morning run. It was a good run, but the only issue I faced was finding a bathroom. No. It was early in the morning, so most places were closed, and the city didn't want me to get any ideas. Eventually, I found one, but I'm not sure if I was allowed to use it. I don't know if this is trespassing though, because I see like a bunch of shoes here. People probably live here. Yeah, there's like shoes. I think this is like a business. Later that day, we traveled to the city of Paju to meet my uncle on my dad's side. It took about 5 hours to get there from Jeonju. We were sleeping and getting up really early because of the jet lag, so I kept up with my runs and got to see the beautiful scenery of Korea. Then we met up with my uncle and traveled to the Korean demilitarized zone.
저 임진각이요. 임진각이요? 같이 2차 따라서 다 같이 가시면 돼요. 저희 행사 때문에 막아놔가지고.
We were still too far from the actual border to see North Korea. The area we were in was pretty much just a park, so we took photos with whatever was there. This truck was the only DMZ thing I saw. Afterwards, we ate some Korean-style seafood. Then my uncle took us to his place, and considering his view, he's doing very well for himself. Later on, we parted ways with my uncle, but not before I took a photo with his Korean Cybertruck. The next day, we left Paju and took the subway back to Seoul. The subway sounded like a library. We did the usual touristy things. We walked around, shopped, and ate. Soon we were back in Jeonju. However, one of my grandma's friends gave us some miyeokguk and I was the only one that ate it. It turned out to be spoiled and I got food poisoning. So I didn't do much besides stay home and watch Squid Game Season 1. And that's why there is no footage for a few days. On day 13, I recovered and we took the train to Yeosu. Like Chris. On day 17, we traveled back up to Incheon. The next day, we went to the Inspire Resort. There, we saw the Le Space exhibit, which is a space-themed media art exhibition. And that was it for my second trip to Korea. The trip had its fun moments. I enjoyed the runs, seeing the scenery, and eating good food. But in reality, the trip was mid. I couldn't communicate with locals because I can't fluently speak Korean. So for half of the trip, I found myself staying home and watching movies. I experienced all I could do in Korea without knowing the language. Korea is also really far from where I live. It costs a lot to go there and dealing with jet lag sucks. So unless I learn the language, I don't see myself going back anytime soon.